Hello, how are you? I am Smriti and welcome back to a new video. For those who have been viewing my channel for a while, you do know that I have set things up a little more than usual, and that is because today is a very special video that I'm uploading and that you are watching, because today I'm going to be talking about some of my best books of 2021, and I had so many good books that I read in 2021. It was truly a blessed year in terms of the books at least, and I am here to talk to you about them. But I thought that I would change things up a bit, and I won't just like tell you about the books that were the best, like the top 20 or top 25. I am going to be doing something like that where I'm going to be ranking all the 150 plus books that I read this year in an upcoming video. So if you're not subscribed or like press the bell icon, you should definitely do that now. But today I thought that I would welcome you to a Bookish Awards night. So yes, we are going to do just that. I have categories, we have nominations, and then we will have a winner. And we have so many categories, guys, so many that I think I'm gonna have to divide this video up into two parts, because I asked you guys over on my Instagram as well as in the community page over here on YouTube as to like what are the sort of categories that you would like to see, and you guys really came through. So I have a bunch of great books that I'm going to talk to you about today. I am so very excited. I hope you have got your favorite beverage along for the ride. Please pause, get your favorite beverage, may it be a coffee or tea or like, I don't know, water. Water is great. I hope you're drinking some water, because you guys, I have so many great books that I want to talk to you about today. So before we begin, I just want to explain how this works. So each of the categories will have at least 3 to max 6 books within that category as the nominations. All 6 or 3 I recommend. I wholeheartedly recommend for this particular thing that I am talking about. I think they are amazing. However, the winner will be the book that I think like just took the cake, and there are many categories where I really couldn't choose, but I still chose one winner. So like, I'm telling you, all the nominations are great nominations. Would highly recommend all of the books within that are nominees. But the winner is the winner for me personally. It could be different for you, but I will also be like trying to explain to you what the book is about very briefly. But yeah, let's just get right in. So for category number 1, I have Most Surprising. Now, Most Surprising is a book that I read on a whim. I wasn't really expecting to like it as much as I did, or the contents of this book really took me by surprise, and I have 3 books in this. So the nominees for the Most Surprising book of 2021 are High Rise by G.J. Ballard. The disintegration of a luxury high-rise building as its affluent residents gradually descend into violent chaos. Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. A 14-year-old girl in the 70s in Baltimore discovers there's more to life and the world she knew when she spends the summer babysitting for her neighbors and their celebrity guests. The performance by Claire Thomas. Told as internal monologues of 3 women attending a play, we come to understand them in the most vulnerable of ways. So there we go, and the winner of the Most Surprising book is The Performance by Claire Thomas. Guys, I was so taken by this book. This book was just amazing because we were in the heads of these 3 women seemingly at this play, but we were getting to know more about their lives and like who they were, and they were going through such different things in their lives at the moment, be it with their husband, be it with the work that they were going through, be it with the queer relationship that they were in. And right outside we're in Sydney with this really amazing play, but right outside there are these like fires that are happening. I don't know if you remember, but in 2020, the fires that were happening that were tearing through forests and destroying people's homes and places of occupation. This book was just so epic in so many different ways. The play itself and the sort of turns that it took, and the interval, for example, oh my god, I was just completely taken by this book, and I would definitely recommend. The next category is Most Emotional, and these are books that really put me through stuff in terms of emotions. I am a sort of person who generally cries a lot, just in general, but also I really like to be reading books that make me feel things, that make me feel truly emotional, and maybe even have a good solid cry. So I have 3 books in this category, and the nominees are 84 Charing Cross Road by Helena Hanff, 20 years of letters exchanged between an eccentric book-loving woman and the people of a bookshop in England. A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, the story of 4 friends and a found family in New York City dealing with love, loss, trauma, told through the years. The Prettiest Star by Carter Sickles, a young gay man in the 90s during the AIDS epidemic goes back to his small hometown to die. His family reacts to the situation in different ways. And the winner for this, I'm sure everyone can guess, is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This book destroyed me. I have an entire vlog. In fact, I have 2 videos dedicated to this. One is spoiler filled, one is spoiler free, because I really had to just vent my emotions. I did not like a lot of the times that I was reading this book, but I truly understood how beautiful and amazing it was, because the way that I fell in love with the characters and just was fully invested in their emotional journey. I got very emotional while reading this book on number of pages and chapters, and just like kudos to Hanya Yanagihara for making me feel so emotionally wrought. I was in solid depression after a period of time after reading this book, so I really would not recommend this book to anyone lightly. Please check the trigger warnings and do read this book whenever you are in a good mental space. I do not say this lightly. But next we move on to better things in life, which is the funniest book that I read. I have 4 books in this category, so let's just begin. An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good by Helene Turnsten, translated by Marlaine Delargy. An elderly spinster in Denmark calculatingly kills off people who get in her way or are just plain old annoying. Bullet Train by Kotaro Isaka, translated by Malissa. A bullet train from Tokyo with 5 killers find themselves and their lives getting intertwined through a bunch of hijinks as they fight to get a suitcase of cash. Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. A young teenage boy finds out that he's a demigod by accidentally turning his algebra teacher to ash. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. A man wakes up from a coma only to find out that he's in space and has to save humanity, but the kicker is that his memory has been wiped. These books got me so much joy during this year. I would wholeheartedly recommend them. However, the winner for this has to be An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. I feel like this book just got me so much joy because inside I too want to be like Maud, who is the elderly lady killing people who annoy her. I really felt like she was living my life and I was living through her. So I really loved the things that she got through, and it was just a feel-good, fun book where I was just rooting for her all this time, even though she was doing some questionable things. The next category is Best Character. Now, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love reading books that have brilliant characterizations. I want to root for a character or hate a character. I just want to feel something for that character, and these characters I really did. So let's just get into the nominees. Alex from You and Me on Vacation, a dockable super fit teacher with a heart of gold. Anna from Hench, from a data entry temp to getting her life ruined by a superhero, this is her villain origin story. Harold from A Little Life, a professor who only wishes the best for his charges, just the nicest and sweetest man. Jimmy from Mary Jane, a complicated man who is a rock and roll musician battling his demons of addiction but truly has a heart of gold. Mauro from Infinite Country, a Colombian man who has truly gone through so much, but a person who truly believes in his heritage, love, and the good in the world. Rita Wellinger from Rita Wellinger, the eldest of the family, having spent her entire life trying to take care of them all, only to find herself losing instead. Those nominees were truly excellent. They are characters that have truly stayed with me for well, this entire year, but also I think they will stay with me for a long time to come. Truly excellent. If you have a favorite character, just like pop it down in the comments down below. I would love to know who that person was and why they were so memorable. But getting on to the winner for me has to be Jimmy from Mary Jane. I know, this book just completely took me out of Left Wing because I just fell in love with it. It's about this girl who's growing up in Baltimore and meeting this rock star, like this amazing, huge rock star that everyone knows, but he's battling so many things like his addiction, his love, his sex addiction, just so many things. But he is just such a nice human being. He wants to change, but he can't change. And like you could see all the grays in this person, and the way he was with the kids was absolutely just broke my heart, stomped it into little pieces. I absolutely loved him as a person. I just thought that it was so wonderful to see this very flawed but very sweet man on a page. And yeah, I just absolutely loved him as a character. He is going to stay with me for a long time. The next category is best atmosphere. Now, a lot of authors concentrate on building the characters or the plot, but not too many can actually describe what is happening around you. What is the atmosphere like? What does things around you look like? How does that add to the story? And I feel like these three nominees did an absolutely brilliant job with talking about atmosphere and writing that within their books. So let's just get to the nominees. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, written in a truly cinematic way where I could visualize the book exactly the way Sally Rooney intended me to. In the Woods by Tana French, following detectives of a small town near Dublin, which is described in the most beautifully descriptive way. Life of Pi, post-shipwreck, a man finds himself in a lifeboat trying to survive but with a Bengal tiger. For those who have read any of these books, I think you know who I would choose as a winner, and the winner has to be Life of Pi. I absolutely adored this book. This was a tough read for sure, but the way Yann described everything that was happening with these two people, which is one was a person and one was like tiger, but like I was so taken by everything. They had to describe everything that was going on at sea, and just like the fish and the things that they had to go through and the way they had to survive. Just everything was just told in such a beautifully descriptive way that like I could imagine this all in my head. I would highly recommend the movie as well. It did an amazing job. It is just an awe to watch. So definitely recommend that as well. And yeah, this definitely won best in terms of atmosphere. The next category is super important to storytelling, and that is best plot. Now, for this category, I have taken just the plot in terms of what the book is supposed to be and what the overarching plot is. I've not put down like how like it was carried out and how that was executed. However, just looking at the four nominees that we have here, they were executed pretty damn well. So let's just get into it. Here are the nominees. A Psalm of the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. In a world where we no longer have robots as they gain self-awareness and have gone away into the wild, a non-binary tea monk after centuries meets a robot who has a question: what do people need? Bullet Train by Kotaro Isaka, translated by Sam Malissa. A bullet train from Tokyo with 5 killers find themselves and their lives being intertwined through a bunch of hijinks as they fight to get a suitcase of cash but also get out alive. Hench by Natalie Zina Walschots. In a world of superheroes and supervillains, we look to understand who is truly good and who is the bad, and is there really such a thing? Told through the perspective of a young temp who goes through her own villain origin story of sorts. Project Hail Mary by Andy Ware. A man wakes up from a coma only to find out that he is in space and has to save humanity, but the kicker is that his memory is wiped. Now, all of these books are absolutely amazing, and I'm sure that now that I've told you what they're about, that you will definitely want to pick them up. I will highly recommend all of them. However, my favorite plot, just in terms of what it did and just what it's about has to be A Psalm of the Wild built by Becky Chambers. This book just completely took my heart. I loved the way that we are in this world where apparently there are no robots anymore because they got self-actualization and decided to go to the wild, where now we have this utopian world where there are non-binary tea monks just going out making a brew of tea for people to come and talk. He's basically like a therapist who helps people. And I just loved this idea where there's such a world that existed. It's about this tea monk and how they just don't feel like they are fulfilling their needs. So they go out trying to find an adventure for themselves and find this robot, and then things happen. This is a really short novella, I think about 180 pages, but just all of the things that were spoken about in this book truly felt like a salve for my soul, especially if you are a person who is overworked or feels like you are sort of like, I don't know what's happening in my life anymore. This book is going to be an amazing short read for you that will definitely maybe help you out or so. Maybe. Next, we have one of my favorite categories of all time, and that is best writing. Now, an author can do an amazing job in terms of getting characterizations right, in terms of getting the plot right, but can that person execute it and make a book with amazing writing that just speaks to your soul? That is the job, my friends. And all of these nominees have done an absolutely spectacular job. They are good writing, not only in terms of building the plot and everything, but just in terms of beautiful, beautiful writing that spoke to my soul. So here are the nominees. A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Wasn't friendship its own miracle? That finding of another person who made the entire lonely world somehow less lonely. Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. Her father said the death of a loved one was like a house on fire. Even with everything intact, it felt like it were mere ashes. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. No people whose words for yesterday is the same as their word for tomorrow can be said to have a firm grip on the time. Rita Wellinger by Shanta Gokhale, translated by the author. The thing in the mind, forget other people's mind, in your own mind are so dark. There's no telling what they are. Sudden whirlpools, currents you never suspected. If you unknowingly slip into a whirlpool, it might become your world. Then you don't understand people outside it and they don't understand you. The Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector, translated by Benjamin Moser. Who has not asked himself at some point of time or the other, am I a monster or is this what it means to be a person? Whereabouts by Jhumpa Lahiri, translated by the author. Solitude, it has become my trade. As it requires a certain discipline, it's a condition I try to perfect, and yet it plagues me, it weighs on me in spite of me knowing it so well. This was probably my toughest decision to take, because if you have not read these books but have just listened to the lines from within these books, you know that this was a really, really tough decision for me. I wish I could give each and every book like an award, but for this I have chosen Rita Wellinger by Shanta Gokhale. The reason why I chose this book is because it was written so well, yet so simplistically. It was so simple in its writing, yet had its deep, profound thoughts that were put in that just completely took my breath away. I loved the way that this was written, that anyone could understand, anyone could just relate to the characters, and it just was a brilliant, brilliant book that I would so highly recommend to pretty much everyone. Moving on, we have best pacing. Pacing for me is a very, very important part of a book, because if the pace is slow but the writing is great, plot is great, characters are great, it still is a bit of a flop. So pacing is a super important part of a book, and I feel like these three books did an absolutely wonderful job, where I just could not keep the book down and I was just like, what is gonna happen? So here are the nominees. Bullet Train by Kotaro Isaka, translated by Sam Malissa. Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian by Rick Riordan. The Push by Ashley Audrain. And When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Ning Vo. And the winner for this has to be Bullet Train by Kotaro Isaka. This book was a trip. While I was reading this, I was like, what is going on? Because we are following 5 killers. All of them are getting interconnected in some way or the other. We are on a bullet train that is going someplace. People are there to kill other people. It was just a wild ride, and I loved listening to every single perspective in this. It was nuts in the most nuttiest sort of way. This is going to be made into a movie with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, and I think it's going to be amazing because wow, this was a movie in my head. I would also highly recommend the audiobook, but that's a separate category, by the way. So yeah, that was my thoughts with this book. Pacing was just par excellence. And then we are on to the last category of this part. There is a part 2 that will be coming tomorrow, which will have some amazing categories, which are probably the most important, like best book, best author, best debut author, best novella. Oh my god, so many. So stay tuned and make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell icon, because I will be back tomorrow, probably wearing the exact same thing, but with the nominees as well as the winners for those categories. But moving on to the last category of tonight, we have the best cover. And ladies and gents and other people, there were some amazing covers, like book covers. Really, holy shit, are like, I kudos to these people. But I am just gonna pop in here these book covers and their nominees. So the nominees for the best book cover are Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok, Vaid, Menon, Memory of Light by Ruth, Vanita, Pride and Premeditation by Tizra Price, The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek, and Welcome to Lagos by Chinbundo Onuzo. And the best cover, this was tough, but also not really, because I love this book cover so much, and that has to be Pride and Premeditation by Tizra Price. This I absolutely love. I'm just gonna pop the cover here because it's shiny when I do it like this, but I love this cover so much. I don't know what it is about the stitching and just like the little like things which are on the cover which talk about the book. It's just absolutely amazing. I wish that like there was actually a cloth bound edition of this book so that I could like touch it. It is just so beautiful. I love the color green. I love the little pinks and just all of that and all the sort of elements that are included in this. I absolutely fell in love. But yeah, those were my winners for this part of the best books and the Bookish Awards night of 2021. I hope you had fun. Please let me know what your winners were for each of these categories as well. Would love to know. And I will see you tomorrow for another part of this.